Hello and welcome to the Just Ask podcast. I'm your host, DorothyAnne, and this is the place to find inspiration for your big dreams and tools to help you reach your number one goal. So, I've been asked over the years many times about homeschooling, and I thought if my friends have these questions about homeschooling, other moms in America's have questions too. So today I have a very special guest on, my friend who is an awesome mom, a woman of God, and is considering homeschooling. Welcome to the show, Tamika.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
I'm so glad you're here. Now, before we get started, I need to know, what is your favorite chocolate?
My favorite chocolate, as far as the form of chocolate,
Any kind, like whatever brand, or yeah, if you don't have a brand, just whatever.
I have a brand, but I love dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate. Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
Awesome. Cool.
it's more flavor.
Yeah. Stronger.
Yes,
And it's probably more healthy too. It's probably less
yes.
sugar. So,
Mm-hmm.
well, so I asked Tamika before we recorded today to just come up with a list of 3 to 4 questions that she has as a mom that is considering homeschooling. So, Tamika, what questions, and I know normally, I'm the one asking questions of people, but so we're kind of switching it around. So it's Tamika is going to be asking the questions today, and then I'm going to just do my best to answer the questions. And if I don't know the answer, then we're going to find the answer. We're going to find it. And before we get started though with the questions, I want to help moms out there that feel like they need a community, feel like they need help when it
Yes.
comes to homeschooling, starting this journey. You may be a new homeschooling mom, or you might just be in the thralls of it and you just need community. So I just welcome you guys to text me, and I'm going to give you my public text number. It's really my number, 972-850-2298. Text me, and any pertinent information on this show, like specific websites or how-to stuff, I can send you a little PDF form with all those different links and goodies and stuff. So go ahead and text me at 972-850-2298. All right, let's get started, Tamika. What's your
Okay.
first question for me?
My first question, because my child has been in school in the charter system for a while, and transitioning him to homeschool. So, is there a registration? Being in Texas, do you have to register your child as being homeschooled coming out of charter school or public school for other moms?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things that I love about Texas is very homeschool friendly. So a lot of people find that the freedom here in Texas for homeschooling is really great. Um, I'm sure it depends on what school that he is in right now,
Hmm.
their procedure and stuff like that. So you could probably just ask, but I'm pretty sure it's as simple as just withdrawing your son from the school. That would be the first step. As far as like registering, like my son is now homeschooling, there's nothing like that that needs to be done that I know of. And I am
Okay.
going to send you a link that has all the different, like if you need to, like a template draft of what you need to say
That would be
for your
helpful.
school. And anyone who texts that number, text me at that number, 972-850-2298. I will also send you that link along with other links that I found along in my journey have been so helpful when it comes to legal things and everything like that. But back to your question. So yes, there's no registering like that you don't have to register with the state that you are homeschooling. You just need to withdraw your child in Texas from his current school.
Okay. Um, my other question was curriculum. I've never done this before, so I'm a little nervous about doing it, but I just feel that it may be best for my child now. So I want to make sure that he's getting the proper education. So how do I go about finding the right curriculum for my child?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tamika. And let me just say, the question that you texted me, and I want to say it word for word because when I read it, I just thought this is a great question because I had the same question. And what you wrote was, how do I find the perfect curriculum for my
Perfect.
child? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was in your shoes, what, 10 years ago. My thought was, I'm going to homeschool my kids and they're going to be like these spelling bee champs. I would always see these like spelling bee competitions and think, that's my kid. I'm going to, my kid's going to like know all these words and spell it all good. But over the years, I learned that there's no such thing as a perfect curriculum. There really is not a perfect curriculum. Number one, kids are all so different. They learn differently.
Hmm.
And even if you find, let's say, the perfect curriculum, something about it will just be like, oh, that's not, it's just like a public school. They could have like top of line curriculum, but then it's still not 100%. It's man-made, so there's going to be some things off about it. But to the heart of your question, I think that you want a curriculum that is well-rounded, that is challenging, but yet still fits your needs and stuff. So
Right.
I kind of want to backtrack a little bit, because in my mind, I like to do things a little bit off the cuff. I like to prepare, but I also like to be a little bit free and organic. So one of the first things that you had asked was, what first step should a parent take when transitioning to a public or charter school from a public or charter school? And I think really one of the first things that, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't have you do, Tamika, is to answer the question why. Why do you want to homeschool? Okay. Because if you have that written down, you have that answer. And it's just a simple 10-minute brainstorming session of writing down why homeschool. And then on the other side, why not homeschool? And make a list of the reasons why you want to homeschool. So for me, originally, I thought, yeah, I want my kid to be this like brainiac, but you can't make a kid a brainiac. They're born with certain tendencies or they're not, and that's okay. But when then throughout my journey, people ask, why do you homeschool? Why do you? And I realized like at the core of it for me, I homeschool because I want them to have a really good Christian foundation. Are you going to get that in a government school?
No.
No, you're not going to get it. So
No.
that's one of my core priorities of why I chose to homeschool, is because I want them to have a biblical foundation. And I'm not talking about Sunday school. Like I'm talking about every day. Is Bible a priority for them? Absolutely it is. For my kids it is, maybe other parents
Hmm.
it's not. For my kids it is. I want them to have that foundation. And so make a list. I would say that would be this first step, is make a list of
Okay.
why to homeschool. It could be for finances. Maybe if you go to school and you have to pay for uniforms, or and you want to cut back on that, or it has to be your priorities. Maybe it's because you want to be the number one educator for your child, which is super valid. You should be. I think a lot of people send their kids to school thinking that they can't educate their kid because they don't have a degree. Well, that's just not the truth. Anyone can educate their kid even if they don't have a college degree. Because let me tell you why. Because God gave you your child because he trusted you to be a steward of them.
Amen. Amen. That's good.
You have your sweet little boy because he knew Tamika will love this boy unconditionally. Tamika will have the patience that this boy needs to get through difficult moments. Tamika will have his best interest at heart. And
That's good.
unfortunately, we can't say that about teachers, no matter how great of a teacher we have. And I can count how many great teachers I've had in my life on one hand. We are influenced by a lot of people that we're not their child. They're getting a
Right.
paycheck,
Right.
and they have
And
all
that
these other little kids that they are responsible for. So they're not going to get the undivided attention that my child needs.
and that was one of my concerns as well. I guess my concerns really came to a head a few years back when it seems like the government was using the classroom as a testing site. Now girls can use boys' restrooms and boys can use girls' restrooms, and then the violence, the school shootings, and so it's just just stacking up on the worries that come with having your child in the public school system, and what they're teaching our children. Now they don't have to get your permission if they want to teach our young kids about sex. And it's just a lot of things that just started stacking up that was like, I don't want this for my child. So what do I do? And homeschooling, it just resonated with me. So I started really a couple of years ago asking moms like you and at our church that do a homeschooling. We have a lot of women at our church that do homeschooling. And for someone that's coming on that doesn't know, I know nothing, and I'm humbled to say that because I'm open to receive suggestions and recommendations on where to start, where to go. So I really appreciate you answering my questions. It's very helpful.
It's my pleasure and my honor. You hit up on some really good points. You talked about safety. You talked about the priorities of you being the first influence when it comes to sex education. Now there's certain states that are passing these outrageous curriculums that parents, if they opened up what it said, they would be flabbergasted at the things that they're saying, and they're my kids, I don't refer to public school as regular school. I know a lot of people, do your kids homeschool or do they go to regular school? It's not regular school. I normally refer to it as government school. That's government school.
Yeah.
I heard the other day, this mom referred to it as government indoctrination centers, also known as public school, and it's not a knock on, I want to say this, it's not a knock on all of our great teachers out there, because I have friends that are awesome teachers and I'm glad they're doing it because it's a calling and they need the light there. It is a battlefield, but to send your kids to government indoctrination centers and think that they will not come out unscathed is being what would I say, a little, I'm thinking of a word like immature, but like where you just kind of don't realize it. I can, and me and you, I'm sure we could tell you stories. What's the word?
I was thinking the word, it may not be completely PC, but I was thinking it's a little bit ignorant.
Ignorant. Yeah. To think that your kids will leave high school and be unscathed from the influences that they've had and from the things that they would be exposed to. Middle school and high school, it would be ignorant because
now they're teaching, I know some have changed their curriculum for the coming year to include white privilege education, and I just really, I'm not for that teaching. I mean, it's like they're already starting to put education on a platform of, I want to see what your skin color is. That's not important to me. Skin color doesn't tell you about my character. And so when you start teaching kids about white privilege or having that as your curriculum, we're already segregating the kids in the form of this education that they're putting on our kids now.
Yeah.
I just don't agree with that.
Luckily for us, I think when we went, because you went to public school, correct?
Yes.
I went to both public school and private school. And I think when we went to school, I think we were just at the tail end of when things started getting worse. I think, it's been a progressive thing. That's what progressives do. They progressively add a little change here, a little change there. And then before you know it, us Christians are like, wait, what happened? This is not the same type of education I got. This is not the same type of math I did when I was in school. And so, I think it's important for us, especially Christian women, to recognize this is not going in the right direction. And we need to take control of our kids. And I 100% support your decision to homeschool. I know you have some challenges because you work full time. So it's not as easy as, oh, well, I'm just going to rearrange my work schedule. It's not like that. You're going to have challenges, but can it be done? Absolutely, it can be done. There are so many books of other parents that have done it while working. It can be done, And I think that then, to go back to your second question, the perfect curriculum, there's no perfect curriculum and there's no perfect homeschool. There is a God-given way to home educate that he will teach you along the journey. It's not something that you're going to know 100% off the bat. It's literally going to be based on your priorities, your core priorities. And from there, you're going to go gradually and learn as you go. And it's going to be beautiful. And it's probably going to be, I can say that it's probably going to be one of the best decisions you've ever made for your son. And I can say he won't regret it. As long as God is the center, he won't regret it. You know what I mean? Any kind of education, a kid could feel like, this is awful. I couldn't wait to get out of high school. I was ready to get out of high school. But now that I'm out and, after Bible school, I'm always hungry to learn. And I think that's a number one goal to have, is to teach your kids to be hungry to learn. Because if they're hungry to learn, what comes out of that fruit? It means they become entrepreneurial. It means they start dreaming bigger, and then figuring out how to build a business. Government indoctrinated centers, what do they teach? They teach how to follow rules and think inside of the box. And so, and what your son is bent towards, what his strengths are, and you can build upon that. I would say that would be the second thing I would say, is after you list out the why you want to homeschool or why not, because you're going to come up with a couple of, let's say, hurdles to come across. Like one of mine was like sports. In the beginning, I was like, oh, I want my kids, because my husband and I were both athletic, and I wanted our kids to be able to participate in sports, team sports. We thought it was important. Well, at the time, I didn't realize there's recreational sports, there's homeschool leagues. So there's always an answer to every hurdle that you have. But I said it's important to write it down, because you will be faced with those questions from complete strangers, from family. So you kind of want to have like you're thinking towards those things, Okay, so the second piece of paper you want to have is to write out, what are my child's strengths? Okay, and then you can base it off that. You obviously your son is incredibly photogenic, and is an awesome model. I hope it's okay that I'm sharing a little bit of what he does. So, as I was getting ready today, I thought, there are a lot of moms out there that would love their kids to do modeling. And, as a little side business, Tamika could actually create a how to get started in child modeling. You could have like a little one sheet PDF paper that says, here are the top 5 things that you need to do if you want your child, because I'm sure you have like an idea of like, get these kind of headshots, but make sure they're not this or that, just something like that. And you could build a little business on where you are now. And some people think like, oh, well, how do I know who my audience is? Your audience is you before your breakthrough. And that's why I'm so glad to have you on there, because before I was 100% to homeschool, I was just like you. I was like, oh, I don't know where to start. I went to Mardell's and I grabbed the first curriculum that had cool colors. like I flipped, oh, that's illustrated nicely. I'll just use this one.
Yeah.
And then I came to find out that this particular curriculum was advanced for the age number, the level. So it was kindergarten, but it was more like first grade. So that was a learning lesson. So I would say be prepared to spend a little money on curriculum. Don't go overboard, test it out, and be flexible. You're not going to find the perfect curriculum. Like something my kids do may not work for your son. Something your son does may not work for my son, or it may. So, because I'm more frugal in the area, I've seen people spend thousands of dollars on homeschool stuff. I'm a lot more frugal. I'll just like buy a workbook first and see if I like it. And it might have not even worked for the next child. Cause at first I
Mhm.
thought, okay, I'll just buy this whole system, about a whole online course system. Well, it was like discs, for Aiden. And then after a year, he's like, I don't like it. And I'm like, oh, great. Well, what are
Oh,
we going to do?
no.
And then the second child of, well, Leah, maybe it'll work for Leah. I hate it, mom. Like, she didn't take to it either. And I'm like, oh, great. Well, guess what? Now, Daniel, the third child, is like, mom, I really want to do, online computer stuff. And so I got to brush it out of the closet, the dust it off of the closet and put it in, and he's thriving in it. So for him, it worked. That one was called Switch on Schoolhouse, and he loves it. He loves doing more of the computer stuff. So, and then the other two, they like the paper and the workbooks and stuff. So flexible, be flexible. That's like huge when you're a homeschool mom. And it's okay
So
if you have a mix of
so
curriculum.
what's their schedule like? I mean, are you doing a Monday through Friday, or are you doing 3 days a week? I've heard some moms say they do that. They do 3 days a week. I'm a single mom, so being a single mom that works full time, I want to make sure I'm scheduling his time with education. I don't want to knock the time that he needs for that because I'm a full-time single mom.
Yeah.
So what give me an idea of what your kid's schedule is like,
Yeah.
just for moms that's never done it like me. What does that look like?
Sure. And you know what? It's really, this is going to sound weird, but it's really not their schedule. It's the mama's schedule. That's what it is.
Hey,
It's
I
the
like
mama's
that.
schedule. So, I'm a lot more laid back, and I don't do well with schedules personally. I do better with routines and themes,
Mhm.
routines and themes. So, and mine has gone from, super laid back to now I've found a little groove in our homeschooling journey that I really love. And what's really kept me organized, and I will add it to that list of some references, is a homeschool planner called A Well Planned Day. So each kid has a block of their, let's say, to-do list type thing. And
Mhm.
so these are the subjects they work on. And we are doing Monday through Thursday and a very, very light load on Friday. So that's what I like. But if
Mhm.
for, some people, maybe they work on Sunday, so they need a break on Monday. So maybe go from Tuesday to Thursday. It really just depends. Or if you're a working full time single mom, maybe you can only teach Tuesdays and Thursdays. And maybe your child will do self study on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I don't know what's going to work best for you, and you probably won't either. And I just encourage you to try different things
Mhm.
and try a schedule that is I would say medium down the line. If you like, not too strict but not too laid back,
Mhm.
like, if and that's probably the third paper that you need to do, after you do his strengths, then do the third paper and have a goal, and maybe have him sit down with you and say, son, what do you want to be when you get older? What what subjects do you love? What subjects do you not love? You know, focus on his strengths. If he loves history, for extra credit, let him read extra history books. That's homeschooling. When they get hungry for
Yeah.
those different extra books and stuff, the just for, let's say, specifics, compulsory age, I believe, is like kindergarten or 5 years old. So in Texas, they want you to start your kids in some sort of curriculum by 5. And I think that it has to be at least reading and math, something like that,
Mhm.
right? Now,
Mhm.
as they get older, you can incorporate other subjects, Bible, science. What are the other ones? I'm kind of losing. We have a lot of extracurriculars. I'll say music. Um, but yeah, so if your son's a little bit older, so he doesn't like you can't just focus, but for the newbie moms that have little ones and they're considering homeschooling, you can just start off with English and math and you're good. And then you can build upon after that. But so back to that third paper, find out what your son really loves and base your curriculum off of that. And there's
Yeah, he
so many
loves
websites.
science. He loves science. That's
Rainbow,
his favorite.
yeah. So I think like Rainbow Resource, they have a lot of different. I feel like that's the one that has different science kits and everything like that. And there's a lot of free resources too. Like the website's off the tip of my tongue, but it's a free one online that you can get like tutoring for math and stuff. I'll have to find it and then add it to the link.
Okay.
I have it somewhere. But yeah, science, there's so much science out there. If he loves science, a lot of
Hmm.
hands-on type stuff. Yeah, there's a lot out there for that.
I can't wait. I mean, I'm nervous, and I know a lot of moms are nervous when they're starting something like this. And I'm getting feedback from you, and just praying a lot about this because I still have a few more months before he's done with sixth grade. So I'm starting in seventh grade, so that's like half of his school years that he's used to going to charter school. So I'm I'm nervous, but I'm also looking forward to it. I'm excited about doing it.
You're going to do great. It's going to be a beautiful journey. Just you do not have to be perfect. You know, God, I believe he put this in your heart for a reason. The Bible says he gives us the desires of our heart as we delight in him. And I know you to be a God-fearing woman. And I know this to be the Holy Spirit that's led you down this path. I think every homeschool mom would
Yeah,
say it was the best decision they ever made. And kids grow up very healthy in the home environment, protected, and they thrive. They thrive when they get to do things that they're inclined to do what God made them
hmm,
for. So we as moms that were public school educated, we kind of had to deprogram our thoughts of
yeah,
what education is
hmm,
and kind of recreate a vision of what education should look like for our personal families. My homeschooling situation routines 9 times out of 10 would not work for you guys, and y'all's wouldn't work for us just because our
hmm,
kids are different. They learn differently. They're called possibly for different things other than serving the Lord. All of our kids are called to serve the Lord. I believe that wholeheartedly. And so, foundation of the Bible, it can start off simple. We do right now,
yeah,
what's working for us is doing copy work. So I will give each of the kids a scripture to write out, and then they work on their cursive. My daughter's cursive is for her age is so great, and so is my son's too. He's like, Mom, my handwriting's better than a lot of my friends. And I said, yeah, because we focused on it. We didn't let you
hmm,
just slide by and just get by with mediocre. Like, we focus on it, we make it a priority, and it's not like this huge you know undertaking or task. It's just little by little, every day, little habits that create bigger accomplishments, and they excel.
You
So
said something that brought to mind another question. You said his friends. Well, that's one of the concerns that my son has is that he won't have a social life because he's homeschooled. So that brings to mind co-ops maybe. How do you get your kids in an environment where they develop friendships if they're homeschooled?
yeah,
Does that make sense?
those are great questions. They really are, because a lot of people think that, like, socialization, if you homeschool your kids, they won't be socialized.
Right.
That could be the most farthest from the truth statement. That misconceptions, unfortunately, that a
Mhm.
lot of people have about homeschoolers. But I would say this, it's very similar to how adults make friends, right? We are very intentional about our friend making as adults. We go to church, we meet people at church.
Mhm.
If I meet someone, another mom at a playground, strike up a conversation with her. If I like her, exchange phone numbers. I think it's a lot the same with children. And what's great is we are the number one influences when it comes to their friends.
Yeah.
So it, I would start with your friends on your social media. Like you said, you have a lot of homeschool mom friends. So I would start with that is those I want to create a space for my son to engage with my other homeschool moms kids.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I joined several different homeschool mom groups, and I whenever they had events I would go tag along to some of their events and see who I kind of related to, or just like you get had good chemistry and such. um, but even before that, Tamika, I would say prayer. I would say, Father, help me help my son make great Christian friends. If we believe the word of God says that he orders our footsteps, if we truly believe that, then that means the relationships that we have, those are divine appointments. And there's
Mm-hmm.
a reason why we go to the same church. There's a reason
Mm-hmm.
why we sang on the same worship team. There's a reason why, we have sons that are similar ages. I believe
Mm-hmm.
my third, Daniel, and yours are similar ages. So there's a reason why, we just have to be intentional about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Tamika, my kids are playing at this park, or we're having baseball practice or whatever. That's another thing is if your son does sports, if you join a homeschool association sports league, those I've heard when people join co-ops and leagues like that, those are the lifelong friends that they make, and they're absolutely beautiful. For a while at our church, we had a little group of homeschoolers that would get together and do science together. That's not happening right now, but those were my kids look forward to hanging out with those friends because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
we have a lot of similar beliefs, and we're like-minded, we're Christians, we have just a lot of good basic things that create unity in relationships. So yeah, so I would say pray. I would say just be intentional. Look at your list of other moms that you like. You don't have to be friends with moms you don't like. Be friends with moms you do like. Set up those dates. Join homeschool groups nearby. The one I joined was in Arlington, which was like kind of far, so it didn't really develop into anything long term. However, I am still friends with mom there, and I'm glad because she has her own business. So sometimes I patron her business, and so I like that. But in the area, there are a few in our area, and there's co-ops that you can join. Because like I said, I'm a little frugal. I haven't pulled the trigger and joined a co-op just because of expenses, because I have so many, and it's like you have to times it by three
Mm-hmm.
kids doing it. But if I would think that for one child, I think that it's probably doable to do and join those different co-ops. I hear great things about the one that Sherry's in, so you might want to ask her about that one. I think Angela's in that one too.
Okay.
But yeah, he will not. If you guys are going to church, um well, I don't know if they're actually meeting if he does the nine or Sunday school, but I don't. Homeschoolers have friends, but the one thing is they have a lot more quality friends, because it's not like a dozen friends, it's like a core group of half a dozen kids that they
Yeah.
really are close to. So it's good. But yeah, I think if that is one of your priorities, you can
Mm-hmm.
definitely add that to the God help me, Lord lead me, and he will have good friends. If he's
Mm-hmm.
concerned about it, just encourage him to know that don't worry, Joshua, God's gonna give you the right friends, because we're praying for it. We believe it. I mean, I'm sure you're praying for his future wife, just like we have to have faith that God would lead our sons to meet their future wives. It's the same thing,
Yeah. Yes. Yes. That's a very good point. And he started going to the nine last year when he turned 12. I mean 11. So he has met a couple of kids at church. So that I'm looking forward to um him going more so this year, because last year with all the
Yeah.
closings and kids are not, as many kids are not going to that service, that he hasn't met too many, but I think that's coming on. Like you said, that's just something about praying for the right group of people coming into his life that I've been praying about since he is the only child. So
Yeah. No,
it,
he does have family too. So, I mean, that's another thing. Like to say kids don't have socialization, he's got cousins too. And so he
mhm.
does have socialization. So yeah.
Yeah, he just thinks he's a ruler of everything. That's all. He runs them though. He's a natural born leader, I should say that.
Awesome. Well, that's the great thing about homeschool is that it's perfect for natural. There's the one thing is homeschool is perfect for natural born leaders because they can really develop their gifts in an unhindered way that a lot of times they won't get. They'll be classified in classrooms as being too loud or not paying attention. It's like, no, they're just a natural born leader that just, he gets it. He's ready to move on. He's ready to be a shaker and mover and world changer, so
Right.
well, I did not pay attention to the time, so we may or may not cut this podcast in half, but I would just like to thank you so much, Tamika, for being on this show. I'm going to create another one with just another list of other things to just be mindful of when it comes to homeschooling that we didn't
Mhm.
cover on this particular podcast, such as some websites to follow when it comes to legality type things, and just have that in your back pocket. You
Okay.
you don't you don't need to live in fear, but it's just good to know, like, okay, this is what the law says. It's good to know what the law says so you
Right.
can move forward with confidence. You know what I mean? So I'm going to
Yes.
probably do another podcast with that. But again, if you are a mom out there listening or a dad that would like a link with all my number one go-to sites, then text me at 972 850 2298 and I will get that list to you. And that's the best way to communicate with me and stay in contact. If you have any homeschool questions, if I don't know the answer, we will find the answer and we'll point you in the right direction. So it was an honor to talk with you, Tamika. Thank you
Thank
again
you.
for being on the show.
Thank
Love
you
you.
too. Thank you. Love you too.
Miss you, girl.
Miss you. See you soon, hopefully.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Happy New Year.